Thanks, Jerry. It's great to be here, and it's great to be here this afternoon at the RIU Conference. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Alto Metals. We've had a fantastic year last year. We drilled about 60,000 metres of drilling. We have had some delays in getting some of those assays through, but we announced the last ones earlier this week. And basically our plans for next year, so it's really just building on the great success that we've had in that exploration, and we hope that that's going to drive further growth and lead to further new discoveries. So for those of you that don't know, sandstone, it's in the East Murchison of WA, so we're a West Australian gold explorer. The Sandstone Gold Project covers over 900 square kilometres of the Grand Sandstone Greenstone Belt, so it's a dominant position over that Greenstone Belt. We're surrounded by a number of sort of multi-million ounce deposits and producing mines, so strategically it's a fantastic place to be. Our resource currently sits at 331,000 ounces. Those resources are open. They're open down dip, down plunge, along strike. There's a number of high-grade intercepts that we've recently announced that are outside that resource, and we can see that resource growing considerably. We've got some fantastic metallurgical recoveries. We undertook some preliminary studies across both oxide, transitional and fresh, and getting up to 90%, 98% recoveries in that primary zone. So that's really encouraging for us. It sort of demonstrates that mineralisation can be liberated through a very simple CIL process, and to date, no refractory issues or whatever, which is great. And the unique thing about sandstone, and I'll show you a slide on this shortly, is the historical focus has really been on near-surface oxide mineralisation, so it hasn't had a lot of drilling below 100 metres depth, which is pretty amazing for a greenstone belt in Western Australia, and that, to us, is one of the key opportunities that we see at Sandstone. We're well funded. We've got just over $6 million in the bank. We closed the capital raising last year, so that's really going to lead into enable us to kick off our major drill program this year, and I'll talk about that shortly. That's going to start in the next couple of weeks, and we've got a resource update that is coming out this quarter, so that's really exciting as well to see that. So I just wanted to, before I go into the rest of the presentation, just to walk through some of these exploration highlights that we've had. And so the image down on the bottom is, so you're looking at we're focusing on the Lord Nelson's corridor. It's a 3 kilometre long corridor. You'll see there in the bottom left-hand side, it's the Lord Nelson pit. It's an oxide pit. It was mined down to 90 metres. It's about 500 metres long. And you can see the mineralisation continues down plunge to the south. And if you look further down that corridor, in the top right-hand corner is another oxide, small oxide pit, which is mined down to 40 metres, called Lord Henry. Most of the drilling in that area that we've done has identified that mineralisation continues not only along strike, down plunge. We've also stepped out and drilled below the pit. Both of these pits, as I said, they were mined down to the oxide, and as soon as they hit the fresh rock, they stopped mining because the mill that was there at the time couldn't take fresh material. And so that therein is the opportunity for us. So it's really exciting that we've actually extended that mineralisation over a kilometre now. We had the new discovery at Juno, which was announced at the end of last year, and then just prior to that, the Orion lode. So it's really just demonstrated there's a lot more there. And you can look at some of the drilling results we've had. Some very thick, wide intercepts, certainly from Lord Nelson. That's really encouraging to us, and I think will hopefully convert through to additional ounces. So very quickly on the corporate side, so we've got 528 million shares on issue. Share price is about 8.4, so market cap of 44. So quite a modest market cap for where we sit. The key thing I'd like to point out for this slide is we've got a very tightly held capital structure. So our top 20 hold about 70%, and a lot of that's really controlled between that sort of top 5, top 6 shareholders. So as I mentioned, we're in a world-class gold district. You can see there that we're surrounded by a number of operating mills and some multi-million ounce deposits. The infrastructure is fantastic. There's commercial flights out to Mount Magnet. You can fly charter flights out to the airstrip at Sandstone. The whole area is serviced by sealed roads. There's grid power, there's water. So you've got all the right ingredients, and strategically that's why we love this area. So this is probably one of my favourite slides, and If you think about sandstone itself, it's had mining activity since the early 1900s. It's already produced over 1 million ounces of gold from our properties. Hacks and Roy are two high-grade reefs. They both produced over 200,000 ounces at 24 and 16 grams per tonne, respectively. And then more recently, Bull China, Lord Nelson, Lord Henry, 3 open-pit oxide mines. And at the time, they were mined by Troy, and they were some of the most profitable mines in Australia. So part of our challenge has been, when we have such a large dominant land position, is how we prioritise those targets and where do we focus. And for us, it's really focusing on our existing resources, and most of those are located down in the southeast corner there, an area that we're now calling the Alpha Domain. And really our strategy, which has been really successful to date, has just been sort of following those resources up. So we've been stepping out. We're drilling along strike and below those resources, and the same as below those pits, and we're finding a lot more gold. So it's certainly something that's, as a strategy, it's working. It's something that we're going to continue to do for 2022. The part about this slide that I really want to draw your attention to, and where we see the big upside potential at Sandstone, is, so the image on the left-hand side there, all of those red dots represents all the drilling that's ever been done over sandstone. And I guess if you looked at that, you would consider that it's fairly done. There's quite a few explorers that have given it a good hard crack. But if you look at the same image on the right-hand side, it just shows all the drilling that's deeper than 100 metres. So a lot of those holes just disappear, and I think that's amazing. So to have a greenstone belt in Western Australia that's really, really underexplored, and we see that as the significant opportunity, given that these orogenic gold systems can go a lot deeper. So the Lords Corridor, it's a large granodiorite intrusion. It's punched up between mafic and ultramafic rocks. It hosts the two shallow high-grade oxide mines I mentioned before, Lord Nelson and Lord Henry. Most of the mineralisation we're seeing is on that eastern side. On the contact between the granodiorite and the ultramafic is where we're seeing that very, very high-grade mineralisation, and then it's like dispersing through the granite itself. Most of that mineralisation, it's trending to the south. We're undertaking a gravity survey on the entire corridor at the moment. The reason for that, it's going to map out that granodiorite, so it's going to certainly help with some deeper drilling that we're planning to do as we sort of follow that mineralisation down. So we've, as I said, extended that mineralisation from Lord Nelson to over a kilometre now with a new Juno discovery, which I'll show you on the next slide. But for us, it's really encouraging to sort of start seeing this type of mineralisation. We've also started drilling further down the corridor towards the centre part of the corridor. We've got some encouraging results there. It certainly warrants some more follow-up. And if you continue south, you then end up at Lord Henry, which that's only mined down to 40 metres. It's a number of high-grade stacked lodes. That mineralisation's open to the northeast and to the west, so we're going to continue following that up. And then if you follow the tail all the way around, the granodiorite pinches out, and then you've got this up through to Havilah and Meningamali. It's over 2.5 kilometres of high-grade mineralisation that we've identified. It's within the mafic and ultramafic rocks, but that's in a different type of mineralisation. It's a differentiated dolerite. We had some results out from that a couple of weeks ago, and it's certainly something that we're going to continue to follow up in that Lord's area. So this is just looking at the Lord Nelson in a long section. You can see that historical pit there, mined down to 90 metres. I'll draw your attention to the dashed line that's below that. So the current resource there is 109,000 ounces. And you can clearly see from that slide all of the mineralisation that's outside of that current resource. There's some very thick, sort of 49-metre wide intercepts outside that resource, and we can see that sort of continuing to grow with the update that's coming out later this quarter. Quite exciting for us is the Juno lode, which is only announced quite recently. We're looking at drilling up dip and down dip of that, and looking to extend that mineralisation further to the south. I also just wanted to step back. So when we first got involved with Alto, it was really focusing on that Lords Corridor and building a story around the Lords and demonstrating there's a lot more mineralisation to be found. And I think we've successfully done that. And what we're looking at doing now is sort of focusing on that Alpha Domain. And what you're looking at here, this is soils over magnetics, and you can see the mag there. It folds around at the basis between Lord Henry and Havilah, and then it runs up along a 20-kilometre long corridor, which hosts Havilah, Vanguard and Indomitable. So that's a much larger 20k trend. Vanguard's got 50,000 ounces at the moment. It's unmined. There's a 40-metre oxide component there, and then goes down into fresh rock. Indomitable, 70,000 ounces. Intriguingly, Indomitable, there's over 190 metres, very deeply weathered zone, so it's still an oxide at 100 metres down. So that's quite interesting for us. We're looking at following that up. We hit Vanguard pretty hard last year. We've extended the strike northwest-southeast by over 2.5 k's. As I said, that resource is 50,000 ounces, and we can see that growing considerably. And so that's quite exciting. And this is my last slide. I think the whole message from the presentation is that we're really about driving growth. We drilled 60,000 metres last year, including our maiden diamond program at the Lords and Vanguard and Indomitable. We had some fantastic drilling results, and we're just looking to maintain that momentum this year. We've got, as I said, the resource updates coming out this quarter. We're doing IP and gravity, so the gravity's over the Lords corridor, IP's over Vanguard. We've got a rig arriving in a couple of weeks. It's going to start following up at Juno. Then it'll be drilling some deeper holes around further to the south along the corridor. And then also there's a couple of areas that we need to infill, to confirm at Lord Nelson, which are currently outside that resource. And then we're looking at getting a second rig in later on this year. And really it's about hitting this hard. As I said, we drilled 60,000 metres this year, and I think this year we'd like to better that, and we're certainly funded to achieve the majority of that. So lots of news flow going on for the whole year. Perfect. I'm around for the rest of the day, all day tomorrow and Thursday, so any questions, please come see me in the booth.
Thank you.
Great.
Now,